Okay, here we go. Video for proofs number 3. I'm going to try to keep this as short and sweet as the last one. I already got it set up for you. This one we're going to be doing similar to the other one that I just did with some substitution, more than just transitive property, but a little bit different take on this one. Starting off, we've got our given stated angle 3 is a right angle. Please use your given. Hopefully you made an equation. So if you want to pause the video, try to think of your equation. By the way, I am on number 5 on worksheet L if you want to follow along. Proof worksheet L number 5 on the back side. As far as I'm concerned, in chapter 1 we learned that a right angle is a 90-degree angle, and that's what I'm stating. Angle 3 equals 90 degrees. Using my definition of right angle. There it is, right angle, and I use the definition. Common theme, we use those words, we use the definition to make an equation. Okay, that's the only thing I'm given in this proof. And I'm trying to prove angle 2 and angle 4 are complementary. That's done. I don't have any other given to write down. So at this point, I need at least 2 equations to do anything, to do something. To try to get to my conclusion. So I'm going to go to my picture and I'm going to try to grab an equation from my picture. And there's only one thing, actually there's a lot of things I'm seeing here. Okay, you might be seeing some vertical angles. We like to use those. Okay, I'm not going to write down the vertical angles yet, although you could. If you're seeing 4 and 1, it's a pretty clear pair of vertical angles. I'm going to hold the thought and say, okay, no angle 4 and 1 are equal, but I don't know if I'm going to need that right now. So far all I have is 3 in my picture, or in my proof. So let's see if we can do something maybe with 3 and other angles. The other thing I'm seeing here is I'm seeing that we have several lines, and we know angles that make a line equal 180 degrees. Okay, now usually we call them supplementary. If we have a pair, 2 angles, that would be 4 and 5 would be supplementary. Okay, but again, I want to use 3 because I already said something about 3. Okay, just sort of something that might help. Use the angles that you already have in your proof, at least the one that you have. And I also know that I need to get to something about 4 and 2. So maybe if I have 2 in there, maybe if I have 4, might be helpful. So I'm going to go ahead and make an equation here. Angle 3 plus angle 2 plus angle 1 is equal to 180 degrees. And I can't say definition of supplementary because, again, it's not a pair. We've got 3 angles. So let's go with angle addition postulate, part plus part equals whole. In this case, part plus part equals whole, the whole being 180 degrees. Now I've got 2 equations, and I should be able to start to do something. So I really like the equation that I just have, angle 3 plus angle 2 plus angle 1 equals 180. There's one thing I can do with the 2 equations I have. We know angle 3, according to step 2, is equal to 90 degrees. So instead of putting angle 3 right here, I'm going to go ahead and put 90 degrees in place of it. I'm going to keep the rest of the equation the same. I didn't add, I didn't subtract. I substituted angle 90 degrees in for angle 3. So property should be your substitution property. From here, okay, I already put the 2 equations together. So just to kind of help you read through these proofs, I put 3 and 2 together to get to step 4. So I'm going to focus on the equation that I have now and see, rather than trying to make new equations, what can I do with that? Can I simplify it at all? And I see 2 numbers. Numbers are good because we can add, subtract numbers. The angles are the unknown angles, 2 and 1. Those are my variables, essentially. I can't do much with those. I can't combine them unless they're the same. So I've got 90 on the left. I've got 180 on the right. I also have my variables, my angle 2 and angle 1 on the left. What if I subtract 90 from the left and 90 from the right? I'm thinking I might simplify my equation a little bit. Because on the left side, now I'm left with angle 2 plus angle 1. And on the right side, well, 180 and 90, I can actually do the math there and end up with 90 degrees. If you were listening to my words, you probably noticed that I said I'm subtracting. Subtraction property of equality, SPO, if you like the abbreviations. And I'm having a great time with equations here, but I haven't actually stopped to look at what I'm proving. So now would be a good time to say, okay, what am I actually trying to prove? Of course they tell us. Angle 2 and angle 4 are complementary is what I'm asked to prove. 2 and 4 are complementary. Another strategy I like to use here is I like to ask myself, what step would come right before the proof? In other words, if I were to actually try to convince somebody that angle 2 and angle 4 are complementary, what would I need to tell them to let them know they're complementary? If you're thinking anything along the lines of 90 degrees, you're on the right track. I'm going to say that what I could tell them is angle 2 plus angle 4 equals 90 degrees. And I think anybody that knows their definition of complementary would say, hey, I agree. If they equal 90 degrees, they're complementary. Okay? I'm using that as a goal. Okay, of course, I can't just put that there and not justify it. But can we see a connection between this equation, angle 2 plus angle 4 equals 90, and, of course, what I have up here, where I left off and took a little momentary pause, angle 2 plus angle 1 equals 90 degrees. It's looking really good to me. The only part I don't like is we've got an angle 1 right here, and we've got an angle 4 right here. Can we replace angle 1 with angle 4? Well, we can only replace things if we know what's true about them. They better be equal to each other. You got it. So let's go back to our picture. Do we know 4 and 1 are equal? I marked mine with arc marks. Maybe you did the same thing. Because before we observed that angle 4 and 1, whoops, that's not what I wanted to do. Angle 4 and angle 1, I wanted to get that out of the picture, were vertical angles. I didn't write in my proof yet. You might have written in your proof. I waited, but I'm going to do it now. I'm going to go ahead and note that angle 4 is congruent to angle 1 because vertical angles are always congruent to each other. We should be able to follow that with angle 2 plus angle 4 equals 90 degrees using the reason of substitution property. Again, substituting angle 1 with angle 4. It then follows that angle 2 and angle 4 are complementary because if they equal 90 degrees, they have to be complementary. Definition of complementary angles. And there you have it. Before I leave this one alone, I'm going to note that you could have done this a little bit differently. Okay, you could have actually made it slightly shorter. If you go back to your picture, I chose to say angle 3 plus angle 2 plus angle 1 equals 180 degrees. Okay? You also could have grabbed these three angles and this line and said angle 4 plus angle 3 plus angle 2 equals 180. It would have cut out a step because if you had 3, 2, and 4 right here, okay, instead of 1 we would have had a 4. You would have ended up with angle 2 plus angle 4 equals 90 by subtracting. So step 7 actually would have been step 5. I'm not trying to confuse you here. You wouldn't have needed to use the vertical angles. Okay, I showed the little bit harder version in case you saw the horizontal straight line and use those. So if you actually were able to get away with only 6 steps in your proof, that would have been just fine. Okay? Good luck with the rest of your proofs.